Welcome to the Central Pennsylvania Real Estate Investors Meetup podcast, keeping you up to date with what is happening in the York, Lancaster, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania real estate markets.
Hi, my name is Chad Eisenhart. I'm a local real estate investor in Central Pennsylvania. You can find me at themultifamilyinvestor.com. This evening, we're at Real Estate Investors Meetup of York, Pennsylvania. The hosts are Dave Hyson with Country Home Realty and Harry Naill with Otter Properties. The speaker this evening is Harry Naill, and he'll be discussing hiring contractors for your remodel, renovation, and rehab. Harry discusses creating a detailed scope of work for your contractor, paying your contractors, and setting up benchmarks to trigger proper payments, the importance of independent contractors, the difference of independent contractor versus employee, and having the contractor sign an I-9 or a W-9, ensuring they have proper insurance and verifying what they say, why it's important to not only sell yourself to the contractor because they'll be trying to sell you, how to find quality contractors, and my number one takeaway is only buy materials that you can count. If you're a real estate investor just looking to get started or you have hundreds of doors, the best way is to TTP, talk to people. Make sure you attend your local meetups and network with other investors. I find that the best way to find deals is from other investors. And now, on to this week's episode.
So my name's Dave Hyson. I'm one of the owners of Country Home Real Estate. This is my co-host, Harry Naill, who is going to be doing the presentation this evening. He's a fortune builders coach. He's been in the real estate industry for how long?
34 years.
A long time.
I started when I was 12, so.
Yeah. He's also a real estate broker. But we'll get into a little introductions here in a little bit. Want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Good to be here at 6:30. Make sure you bring your business cards, do as much networking as possible. And then there'll also be some good networking opportunities after the meeting, post-meeting over a beverage of your choosing. Help if I turn the clicker on, I guess. There we go. So the primary benefit of this group, for those of you that listen to podcasts, read books about real estate, things like that, this group gets you around other people that are in the business in your area. So the stuff we talk about is from personal experience, for better or for worse, sometimes worse, but we want to help you avoid making the kind of mistakes that we made when we were just getting started in the business. So it's to help you learn about it without learning the hard and expensive way.
And we have made a lot of mistakes, but we didn't quit. We persevered. Today, there's a better way. We didn't have the internet back then. We couldn't Google just anything we wanted. Even with that said, there is nothing like getting together and building personal relationships, networking with people. I've done business with the Harrisburg group, Lancaster group, and the York group, and I have built relationships that will last a lifetime. So networking is extremely important for small businesses.
And if you do have time availability, which if you're new, you probably have more time than if you've been doing it for a long time, but we're not the only game in town. I mean, we're the only game in York, but, well, not necessarily, but there's other networking groups around. You can go to those too. We're not going to get hard feelings about that, as long as you don't stop coming here, of course.
Right, there is an investor real estate group in Harrisburg and Lancaster as well.
So check those guys out, because you might meet people that are involved in different things that are at those groups that don't come over here because the night's not convenient or something like that. So if it suits your schedule, get over there, check them out. There's some great groups around. But the benefit of this is, local people in this room are familiar with this market and can tell you things about this market. Because I guarantee you how York City does business is different than from how Lancaster does business. There's lots of people here that you would want to meet, other real estate investors, contractors, realtors, attorneys, right, Seth? Some of them around here. And then the other benefit is education. We talked about that a good bit. The smartest people learn from reading, The second smartest people learn from other people's mistakes, and then the rest of us idiots learn from doing it the hard way.
I haven't heard that before.
The other thing is we have access to a state attorney general approved lease. Really important for getting your rental business going. You want to know that you have a lease that protects you and that judges are familiar with. I still got to get that A out of this bullet point, but I'll get around to it one of these days. But a membership in this organization also gets you a membership to PROA, which is the Pennsylvania Real Estate Owners Association, which is a lobbying organization that lobbies people in Harrisburg on behalf of landlords.
A few years ago, these large management companies that manage thousands of units, were tired of municipalities and cities enacting anti-landlord ordinances. And a lot of times it was just to get money. So they pulled their resources together, they hired some attorneys, and they started PROA. And now a lot of smaller folks like Dave and I have joined and the rest of the members. And I think it's $35 of the membership fee we send to PROA because we need to protect our business and we need to be able to give back. And for instance, in Millersville, they were going to enact a $35 tax every time you signed a lease, if it was within that jurisdiction. And that was a just for money thing. So PROA sent their attorney in and they defeated that ordinance. That's the type of things they can do for us. So,
yeah, I would have blown through a lot of money this week. Lease signing. And then the other benefit of this is personal growth and motivation. So, at your job, you're there with other people that are working for a paycheck. The whole idea that you're coming out to these meetings is you're looking for the opportunity to have your own business and be in charge of your own future. So you want to be around other like-minded people because when you're in that kind of situation, there's nobody to basically tell you what to do when you get up and keep you motivated. So you need to be around other people that are doing that and setting goals for themselves and doing things to benefit their own future and can encourage you because it is tough. Every day is basically a battle and there's going to be a bunch of stupid shit that happens that you're going to have to deal with on a daily basis.
No matter what work you do, it seems like every day is a battle, right? Am I right? But I know when I come here the next day, I'm motivated in the morning. I jump out of bed, I'm like ready to go. So personal growth and motivation is just one of the other benefits that you get from coming to the meetings.
You get to hang out with us.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, we charge a lot for people to hang out with us now.
That's worth the price of admission right there, Dave.
Especially for you first-timers. And we want to grow the group. We had to bring out some more tables this time. It looks like we still need more tables, but we'll deal with that. And we want to thank our sponsors, first of which, Slate House Property Management. You have Mr. Judah Hoover back there.
Wave your hand, Judah.
Slate House, the property management company, and they serve kind of the whole region here, so it's not just York. So if you do stuff in Lancaster, Reading, Harrisburg, they can support you there. Also, Frank's Marble and Granite. Carmine's generally here, but they sell granite for flips as well as for your actual house. So if your wife's bugging you about redoing the kitchen, you got a guy.
I got a guy.
Also, Anchor Abstracting, Darren Miller.
Raise your hand, Darren.
There's Darren. So Darren's with Anchor. They're a title company downtown, and they do a lot of business with real estate investors. So they're familiar with the type of work we do. They're not going to look at you like you have three heads when you're talking about an assignment of contract. They'll probably ask you quite a few questions that you might be like, I didn't think of that. But that's what you want on your team is advisors that are going to hold you accountable and steer you down the right path.
And as you build your real estate business, nobody can be successful on their own. You need a good team around you. I have, a top real estate attorney. I have a top title company, my insurance company is tops. My CPA is tops, right? So I could put all those pros around me. I'm kind of like insulated. I get all warm and fuzzy. So no matter what issue that comes up that I'm not sure about, bam, one quick phone call to the professionals and it's resolved. So you got to, build a team around you, a good team.
And once again, a lot of the times you arrive at a team like that is from having shitty advisors initially.
In the past.
So that's another place where you can shortcut things. And actually, Harry's CPA is going to be talking next month, right?
Next month.
So he'll
He's
be in here.
giving some tax tips and advantages with real estate. So put that on your calendar.
The other thing, Mark Scott. I don't know if Mark's here this evening. There he is.
There he is. Hey, Mark.
With Miracle Method, Mark does an excellent job with refinishing things. So if you have a beautiful bathroom, but it just happens to be pink or like seafoam green, Mark's your guy. He'll fix that right up. They have a system that can coat it over, make it white, and it'll look like it's brand new.
Or speckled or whatever you want. I've used them 4 or 5 times.
You could take a white bathroom and turn it into seafoam green if that's your thing, but I probably wouldn't recommend it. Can't do that? No. Don't do it. There's always a big difference between whether you can do something and whether you should. I just got to make a note here. Harry has this presentation labeled Cobblestone's presentation. Anybody that was around the group then, we used to meet at Cobblestones when that was a thing.
Does anybody remember that? Or is anybody here? Oh, we got quite a few, actually 5 or 6.
That was the day we bought this projector, I think. Right?
Yeah, we had a few technical issues. Thanks to Dave's dad, he bailed us out though. He's my hero. As previously mentioned, I'm Harry Naill. I've been in real estate a long time. I do a lot of things. I am a Fortune Builders coach and mentor, so I coach students every Monday from all over the country. Most of this information that I'm going to be sharing with you today came from Fortune Builders. How many Fortune Builders people do we have here? 3. All right. Okay. Before I go any further, everybody's asking me about this, so I might as well get that out of the way. My wife, the story's going to be good when it starts with my wife, right? No, Sunday I had to cut this limb out of the tree and had a little step stool. I should have went the 100 yards to the barn and got the ladder, but I didn't. And it got stuck up there after I cut it. And so I'm on this little step stool and I'm taking the chainsaw and I'm poking it. And it would move a little and I'd poke it and, move a little. And usually those things kind of come down slow because the branches are hitting on the way. When I hit it, it turned and that thing came down really fast. And I did have safety glasses on, so it whacked me, obviously.
Chainsaw wasn't running.
No. I tell you what, it hit me so hard, I almost dropped my beer.
Tragedy averted.
Yeah. I tell you what. All right, well, we got that out of the way. Right now, we're currently working on 6 rehabs, 3 flips, and 3 rental properties. Obviously, a lot of the rental properties you're going to buy are going to need some work. The rehab process is basically the same whether it's a flip or a rehab. You may not use the same appointments. You might not be putting granite into a rental property, but the process and the documents you need to get signed with the contractor are the same. So, which is really cool because we can cover both at the same time. These are the departments in my business that I'm in charge of. Acquisition, wholesaling, selling, project manager, development and growth, and obtaining private money. That sounds like a lot. It is. My office staff, I have a manager. Terry, where you at? Raise your hand. There's our property manager, and then my wife also works in the business, and she's office manager, settlement coordinator, and the CFO. Real estate has now become, because of TV, a highly competitive business. There's more real estate shows on than any other. Food, believe it or not, is like a real close second. But there's more reality TV shows on real estate than anything else. So it's very attractive, it's seductive, it's romantic. You're at a cocktail party, you're talking about real estate. I own this piece of real estate, so it attracts a lot of people.
Did you see that one of the Kardashians from that show is coming out with his own real estate flipping show? So it's like, how can you tell that we're almost at the top of a bubble?
Yeah. God. Anyway, the point is, and that's why you're here, is to bring your A game. You need to get educated about real estate. You need to get educated on that little voice between your ears, the one that creates doubt, the one that talks to you. We're here to work on personal growth and development and get rid of that voice in your head that says you can't do it.
Now, the one that tells you to go get the taller ladder, that voice you might want to stop at.
That one you might want to listen to. Getting educated in real estate here, I mean, it doesn't really cost anything. Networking with other investors, motivation, and the cost of joining this group is really priceless. Most of us are not going to get rich from flipping houses. The only reason I flip houses is because then my marketing also attracts rental properties. It's kind of an afterthought, but you're going to get all these leads. Some of them won't be right for flipping. You can't make money off this house for the price they want for flipping, but it could make a good rental. And rental real estate is the road to true wealth. It is the number one way for the average American to become financially independent. Because of what Dave said earlier. And what was that? Anybody know? Give me 3 letters. OPM. OPM. Tell him what he's won, Bob. Yes, OPM. Other people's money. You can leverage. If I go to my stockbroker and I want to buy $100,000 worth of stocks or CDs or bonds, what do I have to give them? $100,000. Well, if you don't have that, you can't invest. But you can buy a piece of real estate, and even if you do it the conventional and traditional way of putting 25% down or 30% down, you can what? Finance the rest, right? Sure.
Yeah, I never liked the idea of buying $100,000 worth of stock because I never really had $100,000.
Because we always are blowing it on real estate, right?
It's like all you need is $100,000, and if you make a 10% return, you can earn $10,000.
And there's a lot of tax benefits with long-term capital gains, depreciation. You're building up equity. It appreciates, and it's a passive income. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on that. As I'm going over all this information, if you get to a point where
I forgot about this.
It's an aha moment where you go, aha. I don't want you to do that aha. I don't like aha. I like kaboom. I want you to shout it out, right? Who's with me? Kaboom. No, come on, let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Kaboom! All right. Or a situation where, oh my God, if I'd have known this information last year, I could have saved thousands of dollars. That's a kaboom moment, right? Okay. How many of you have looked like that guy?
That was in college.
Raise your hand, right? Should I do some of the work myself? Everyone asks me this question. Most of the times, I'm going to tell you no, unless you're really proficient in plumbing or electrical or carpentry. But then you also have to have the time to do it. So if you're working a regular job and you have to go in the evenings and weekends, now you're ruining your quality of life for one thing.
Now you are going to need that marriage counselor.
You're ruining your quality of life, and you just slowed that project up because you weren't there during the day. Every day costs money. Taxes, insurance, utilities, somebody to cut the grass, interest on the loan. Every day costs you money. Every day I hear a cash register go cha-ching, 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 right? So you have to really figure out on paper if it's worthwhile. And it has to be a pretty good profit margin for you to actually work on the property yourself. I mean, I don't work on anything myself anymore.
Yeah, the only stuff I work on myself is probably in my own home because I'm already there.
There you go.
But half the time I'm not good enough to do that, so I don't do it then either.
The other question people ask are, where can they find good contractors? You know, they're not that hard to find. I use the analogy, okay, if I'm a deer hunter and I'm going to go out in the woods, I'm not just going to sit anywhere in the woods, right? I'm going to sit where I have the best chance of seeing a deer, right? And for us hunters, we know where that's it. We want to sit where there's multiple trails that crisscross and come together, because that's the chance, you have the best chance of seeing the most deer. The same for contractors. So all you got to do is ask yourself, where do contractors go?
Home Depot.
The bar. Okay, after work, the bar, hopefully after work. Home Depot, Lowe's, supply houses, plumbing supply houses, electrical supply houses, right? And not maybe Lowe's and Home Depot too much, but like hardware stores. What's hanging there at the door when you walk out? Cork boards, right? Everybody's got their business cards. The other thing you can do, it doesn't work quite as good at Lowe's and Home Depot, but if you go to the electrical supply, plumbing supply, and just say, hey, look, I'm looking for a plumber who, you know, is dependable, is going to do a good job, but not charge me an arm and a leg. You know, somebody that has maybe one guy. You know, that's be perfect for what I need.
You don't want the guy with 10 trucks.
They're usually happy to give you names and numbers. I tried it at Lowe's, and the guy said, we're not allowed to give out names and numbers because we don't want it to come back to haunt us if the contractor, you know, doesn't do you a good job. And I tell him, I say, well, look, I'm not looking to hire the contractor to do work on my property. I'm looking for him to, I just screwed that up. I was looking for wholesalers. Never mind, I was on a wrong train of thought. Anyway, how about job sites? You're driving down the road, you see a We Buy Home sign in the yard and a dumpster, and there's trucks there working, right? Well, stop. I stop, I go in, hey, the boss around. Whether he is or he isn't. Can I have a business card? I usually have a card on them, or you can write their name and number down. It's a great way to find contractors who are already working for people who are flipping houses, right? Have you seen that before at all? Right? Sure. Investment groups like this. I found contractors at investment groups before. Other contractor referrals. If you're working with a carpenter or a plumber or electrician, let's say you're working with an electrician, but you need a plumber, I'm pretty sure that electrician is going to know some plumbers, or know some drywallers, or know some carpenters, right? And believe it or not, you can find some good ones on Craigslist. Has anybody ever found anybody good on Craigslist?
Great electrician.
Okay.
Drywall,
Okay. Now, there's a technique to that. You do not, and I repeat, do not put your personal phone number in there. You do not put your email. You have them email back through Craigslist. And you ask them to provide a short resume. Now you're going to get some people that'll go, hi, I'm Bill, call me. Am I going to call that guy?
No.
Am I going to call that guy? No. He can't follow instructions. I have found a few good people on Craigslist, but again, I've read the resume. Okay, this guy can actually spell words. He looks pretty good, you know.
He knows what a resume is.
Yeah, he knows what
so
a
that
resume
sets him
is.
apart from about half the people.
Usually if I'm looking for somebody, I'll ask around. Like word of mouth means so much to me. And I found some of the best servicers in various industries just by asking. Like this group, I would ask around.
Sure.
To be my first bet.
And other contractors, you know, is a great way. Like I say, you're working with an electrician, you know, electrician calls somebody up, hey, you know any good plumbers? It's not hard. You just have to think. You have to think about where they go. They meet other contractors. They go out and do contractor parties or whatever. I don't know, but that's
Like, let's get together and build something this
but
week.
it does take a little bit of work. Not a lot, but it does take a little bit of work.
There you go.
Local Builders Association. That one is in there, and I missed it. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, Builders Association. Credible contractors will typically belong to the Builders Association. Builders Association is their group of contractors, their association, and they learn about new products and new laws that are coming down. They're trying to stay on top of it, of the curve. It's the guy that has a pickup truck and he has a circular saw and a drill and he goes in business. He doesn't know the laws. He doesn't. Yeah, those are the ones you got to watch out for. And my goal today, when you leave here today, is to understand the process of rehabbing, where to find contractors, how to deal with them, and how to get the proper paperwork signed, and why you need to get that paperwork signed. And if I can accomplish that tonight, then I did my job. And if I have accomplished that, you won't be afraid, the people who haven't done rehabs before won't be afraid to get into a rehab. Because now you've got information that can protect you, and you know the process. So we'll see at the end if I did my job or not. When we talk about a quality contractor, we're talking about a person who is professional, competent, licensed, insured, who has the skills and inclination to work with the system and do the best and most efficient job that is possible. That's what we're talking about. Is that the guy you want to hire? Yeah. When you meet with a contractor, there's a system that you really should do, and it's a pre-screening is what it is. And a reputable contractor will have no problem answering these questions. I'll bet you if I asked Duchesne any of these questions, he would not have any problem answering any of these. Right?
Correct.
How many years on the job? How many years have you been doing this? 5 is better, 3 is minimum. Do you have the proper tools? How many workers are on your crew? How many jobs are you currently working on? Are you licensed? Do you carry liability insurance and workman's comp? Do you use subcontractors? A quality contractor will use quality subs. A quality contractor will use quality subs. I hate when the contractor's going, oh, no, I don't need them. I can do everything. Oh, man. No, you can't. I've yet to meet a contractor who is good at everything. They might be good at carpentry. They can do a little plumbing and a little electrical, but they suck at drywall. Or they suck at something else. So they can't do everything. You can't be good at everything. So I actually want my contractors, plus it'll make the job go faster. If that contractor's trying to do everything, there's portions of that house that are sitting there not getting worked on. The idea is to get that job done as quick as possible so you can get that property rented, so you can get that flip on the market and get it sold and stop the interest payments. Taxes, insurance, utilities. That's the idea.
Because if they're working on something they're not proficient at, instead of the stuff that they're normally working on, it's going to drag out.
And guess what else? You're going to walk in and go, oh, what is that? No, you got to redo that. Do you think the contractor's going to like that, having to redo that? You're going to get into a fight with them. Guaranteed. Ask me how I know.
What's the one tip you would say to look for in someone's liability insurance?
The amount.
The amount. What's the amount?
I'd want a couple $1 million, like $2 million up.
Yeah, at least $1 million.
Yeah, at least $1 million, absolute minimum.
Do you call and confirm this?
I'm glad you asked, because I was going to get to that, but we'll do it now. We call the insurance company, ask them to send us over a copy of their insurance information, and we tell them that, look, if this contractor drops his insurance, you got to let us know.
Kaboom!
Kaboom! Thank you. Hallelujah. I love you.
That is called being additional insurance.
Yes.
You have them labeled.
Yep, you will go on as an additional insurer.
Are you allowed to call the insurance carrier? Because I always have to have the person hiring call.
We have the contractor call. Once they send it over, then we call the insurance company and say, you know,
Make sure it's valid.
just make sure, thanks for getting that on. We see we are the additional insurer. I just want to, you know, if he drops this, you got to call us.
Because they probably won't give you any policy information without you having that
Right.
sheet probably in front.
So is this like, so you, all right.
Dave, what kind of car do you drive?
Volkswagen,
Volkswagen, what color?
white.
White. Okay. Has he ever declared bankruptcy? You want someone who's financially stable and has business credit. Referrals, can he provide any references? Sample projects, he should have, all contractors have before and after photos. They should. You know, because most of them, if they're good, they want to show off their work, right? Any questions?
So is the Better Business Bureau in that?
Better Business Bureau is just kind of like a service that people can join. I don't usually take a lot of stock in that.
No, we don't mess with that too much.
I mean, if they
But
have
good
it's
question.
helpful, but
Judah?
The requirement to be a Better Business Bureau is the check. I call all the time. They're like, oh, people are calling about you. Really?
And all contractors should have a license from the state. It's actually a law. But a lot of the people have 1 or 2 or 3, 4 guys, right? And you got to be, that's where you really got to be careful. So, anybody else? When you talk to the contractors, you want to develop your pitch. And because you're trying to get the best price out of them, but on the same time, you're trying to get the best workmanship out of them. So you want to let them know the benefits of working with you. If you want somebody to do something for you, what do you have to do for them?
Sell them.
Create an advantage. You have to create an advantage for them. And then they'll do something for you. The advantage to them is, I'm repeat business. I tell my contractors, I go, I'm going to, you know, if this works out great on the first one, I'm going to keep giving you multiple jobs, and you don't have to work with Johnny Homeowner. Because Johnny Homeowner and Susie Homeowner, they can't make up their minds. They're sitting at the table, oh, I don't know, what color soffits and what color window trim do we want and what color shingles do we want? And they're looking at carpet samples, and you're like ready to like gouge your eyes out. Because you've been there for 2 hours and it's 9 o'clock on a Thursday night and you want to go home. You haven't had dinner yet, right? So you need to convince them that you're going to be a serious repeat customer and that you're going to address all the issues that are important to a contractor. So you have to know how a contractor thinks. And with everything, making a decision, you should always look at the other side of the fence. You know, what's the contractor looking for from me? What do they want? How can I help them? Again, if you want them to do something for you, create an advantage for them. And again, they're going to save time with you. I'd make up my mind fast, very fast. I already know what colors I want. I already know everything. It's already picked out. I just rinse and repeat. So it's boom, boom, boom. Every house of mine looks the same. Tan walls, white trim. You know?
looks like he did this hotel too.
Yeah. Touche. We did. And it looks good. So yeah, it's the same. Plus, guess what I can do with the leftover paint? Take it along and use it on the next job. So it saves me a lot of money. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel every time I do a flip or a rental. I'm just not going to, because that takes too much time.
A lot of times an advantage is
And that's why you gave me good prices, right? You did give me good prices, didn't you?
talk about that later.
Yeah, and when I'm going over this, you know, if there's any contractors, you know, I may piss some contractors off. If I do, I drive a white Volkswagen.
I was wondering where he was going with that.
It's parked out there. So we can save you time. We make quick decisions. It's repeat work. Nothing worse for a contractor. He does a job for Susie and Johnny, and then he has that week delay with no work. And then he has another job. And then there's a couple days delay. Those couple delays cost a lot of money. If he can go from one job to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, that's where they make the big money. Right? I'm going to reduce the contractor's liability because I am professional. I'm going to give him a detailed scope of work. We're going to go over that later, but I'm going to give him a detailed scope of work which saves him time and eliminates the gray areas. No downtime, hassle-free, good communication, and we will help make them more efficient. I'm not a retail client. I work with other investors, so I can also give them referrals. I use a system, and I use the Fortune Builder system with a predetermined scope of work. And Austin just touched upon this. I love to pay contractors. Now, how many times do you ever hear anybody say that? Austin, how many times have you ever heard that? You can talk to your wife when you get home, for God's sake, boy. You've been married how many years? 5. Gary, how many years have you been married? 59. In a row? I've been waiting to use that one for a long time. I love to pay contractors because guess what? That means they did the job and they're done. How often do contractors hear that? Now, when the contractors evaluate your bid, and you have 2 or 3, I never get more than 2 or 3, but you have to have them comparing apples to apples. You can't, walk through with one contractor and go, yeah, I want this done, this done. The next one, you walk through and it's not written down. It should be written down and it should be detailed so that every contractor knows exactly what they're bidding on. Again, make them more efficient. Don't be afraid to negotiate if you think the price is too high. Now, don't nickel and dime them every time they do a job for you, but you can talk to them about that. And rarely, and I do mean rarely, do I ever pay anybody by the hour. That's the kiss of death right there. Because what happens is they're 8 hours and they work, and they have 2 hours to finish. But instead of busting it out, if they were doing it on a bid, they'll just come back the next day, which drags the job out a little longer, right? Now, that just costs you money that extra day. Cha-ching, right? So the only time I would ever do that is if I was actually working with them and I was on the job with them. Any questions? All right, now we're going to get into the documents themselves, and I'm going to explain why they're so important. The first form is the independent contractor form. And I don't care if you're putting a deck on your house, you need to get these forms signed to protect yourself and to make the contractor more efficient. There's an old saying in the flipping business, detailed paperwork, especially a scope of work, let's just use scope of work. A detailed scope of work will make a good contractor a great contractor because there's no gray areas. So an independent contractor agreement spells out who the contractor is, who the client is, and what their duties are. Who's in charge of trash, who's in charge of permits, who's in charge of all the things that a lot of times you would forget, but it's all here. It's all written down. The cost of the project, the estimate. Inspections, who's in charge of that? Cleanup, who's in charge of that? How the client approval basis is going to work. How many inspections are you going to, how many meetings are you going to have with your contractors? Invoicing and payments, change orders, cancellation, penalties. Number 11, penalties is my favorite clause. I call it the drop dead date. What that is a date you put in there that the project's to be finished. If the project's not finished by that time, so much comes off the contractor's final draw. You want to see them squeal? Start taking money off their final draw. And the way I handle that is I'll be sitting with the contractor and I ask them, I say, how long is it going to take for this project? 6 weeks? 6 weeks, okay, fair. Tell you what, I'm going to give you an extra week. I'm going to give, because contractors tend to be very optimistic on completion dates. I'm going to give them an extra week. But, that's exactly how I say it, but if you go over 7 weeks, $32 comes off your final draw every day. Now, how do I determine the $32? I take the cost of the project, the interest on my loan to buy the property, the taxes, insurance, utilities, somebody to cut the grass, somebody to shovel snow. You've got to figure all that in on a yearly basis, divide it by 365 days, and then I might add $2, and that's the figure I come up with. That's how I come up with it. In 9 or 10 years of using this agreement, I only had one contractor not want to sign it. I got up, shook his hand, said, we'll part as friends. Great, no problem. Out the door he went. I'm glad I never worked with that person. A lot of contractors will get you to sign, and this is the part, remember, white Volkswagen. A lot of contractors are going to try to force you to sign their agreement. Typically, present company excluded, their agreement is a little one-sided, or it's not as detailed. What I tell them is, hey, look, I got this through Fortune Builders. This is designed to protect you, the contractor, and me. And it spells everything out. It's very detailed. Let's go over it and see if you have a problem with anything. And when I go over it, they don't have a problem with it. So it's really not that tough. You got that? Okay, this is why this stuff's important. This is why we're here, and this is why we're talking about it. I love the interaction. Okay.
Back part of the agreement.
Warranty, the contractor's warranty, arbitration. If there is a dispute with a contractor, you're going to go to arbitration, and that's the bulk of it. That's the lion's share of it. So it's a really important document, and I want to make sure you don't have to use this one. Just use one and make sure it's a good one. Now, if anybody's going to be using my agreements, I'm going to do my little disclaimer here. You must go to your attorney and get them approved first. Okay? That way, if something's screwed up, or you're not coming back on me. So go to your attorney and get it approved. Scope of work, that's the evidence of what you and your contractor agreed upon. It demonstrates professionalism and credibility to the contractor. You come in with a really detailed scope of work, that contractor's going to go, holy crap, nobody's ever done this for me before. Because again, you're going to be making their job easier. It's going to be easier for them to bid it. And it's a great way to impress your hard and private money lenders. When you go for hard money or private money, you're trying to sell them that you should loan them, that they loan you the money. I don't care if it's private or hard, they want to see that you're going to be professional, you're going to protect them, you're going to protect their money. They want their money protected. I never had any problem with any of my lenders because I go in and I lay it all out. I lay all the 6 critical documents out, before and after pictures, and my whole credibility kit, and they always say, no, you have the best I've ever seen. Remember, a detailed scope of work will make a good contractor a great contractor because there's no gray area. It's not, well, I thought you wanted it this way. No, I wanted it this way. That's if you have a bad scope of work. It's ambiguous. But if it's very detailed, there's no gray area. They can't argue. It's like, look, right here it says, boom, 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 boom. Redo it. There are some programs out there, and because we've talked about it at Fortune Builders Coaches Mastermind Group, there's some programs you can get that all the contractors can talk to each other, and they can input things on a daily basis. Well, I've got this done, I got that done. In 2 days, I should be, should be ready for the electrician to come in, right? So the electrician can comment. And there is, if you're, going to really go big time with this thing, you should, and I can't think of any of the software packages that do that, but I do have it back at my office, so I could. But it's something, it's a resource, it's out there, and if you're planning on growing, it's something you should consider. You can't read this, but it's okay. This is the scope of work. You're not supposed to read it anyway on a PowerPoint presentation, so. It says on the roof, clean debris off roof, fix damaged roof and drip edge. It's kind of blurry because it's enlarged. I'm having a hard time reading it. But, mine might say master bedroom. Fix 2 cracks in ceilings, dig out, tape, compound. 3 coats. That's pretty detailed, right? Replace all outlet covers, switches, and outlets with white. If you're going from almond to white, throughout entire house. You just go from room to room and you make a detailed list. The paint, all walls to be tan trim, white or tan walls, white trim, semi-gloss, satin, whatever, Sherman-Williams, PPG, you can list the codes. This thing's like 6 pages long. But there is no screw ups here. It's impossible for the contractor to screw it up.
I wouldn't get that far.
No.
Improbable.
No. I'm talking about good contractors.
Right.
This is going to make a good contractor a great contractor. I'm not talking about them other guys. If they can do it within my budget, I'm not going to try to nickel and dime them like that. Again, you want them to continue to work for you. They have to make money too, and that's putting them to a lot of extra work. If it's a small amount of work, I may do that. Especially if I think the price is too high. I'm going, could you break that down for me? I just want to see maybe where I can save some money.
That's why it's good. Like Harry said, I think one of the best ways to do it is to break it down by the room, because then you're looking at the room, you're listing what's in there. If you just say, oh, we're going to paint and tire, it's easy for stuff to get fluffed up. Whereas if you break it down by the room, it makes it a little bit.
And I've tried that, and it sounds good on the surface, but it's really hard to decipher, because if you ask somebody to come out for 1 day and do some jobs and break it down, or 2 days, they're adding traveling time. Or if it's just 1 or 2 items, right, and they have a half a day left and they have to leave. But when a contractor comes in with his men, he's there the whole time. So when he's doing a whole bunch of things at the same job, it saves them money, because they're not jumping over here and over there, and they're not traveling. Traveling time kills contractors. Traveling time sucks, doesn't it? It sucks. And it can kill you. Bouncing back and forth and jumping all over the place. Yeah, my dad was a plastering contractor. We're 3 generations in my family of plastering, and he hated that traveling thing, because that's where he said you can really get screwed on, losing money. You got 6 guys doing nothing for an hour and a half, while they're traveling back and forth or different jobs. And so, got.
Would you offer any bonuses or incentives if they finish the job early?
Yeah, if you've got a project that's a home run, and if they can get it done early, you can definitely throw them a bonus. Doesn't seem like there's as many home runs as it used to be out there, though, today. I do have a clause in there that says all work to be compliant with codes,
And in a workmanlike manner.
And in a professional workmanlike manner is exactly what I have in there. So it's not as detailed as what you were saying, but it does cover it. You know, that way, if something when the home inspection's done, if something isn't to code, I can call them up and say, hey, you got to come fix this.
And you got to be specific too. Like the rehab we're working on right now, we met this morning, and I know that it's going to be for a retail buyer, and there's a good chance that they'll be FHA. So I made sure the contractor knew that any requirements to comply with FHA, we had to keep in mind and include that in the scope of work, because I don't want to say, oh, I can only sell it conventional when I'm done with it.
And I personally do not hold money back, like 10% or 5%, for example. When I pay them, because I know my contractors, if there's something in the home inspection that was their fault, they'll come right back and fix it for me. We have that kind of relationship.
So, I think it's a good idea too to have a budget in mind, especially if you're not in a position to take 3 or 4 bids. If you know what something should cost and you've got it in your budget because you've done your homework before you start your rehab, to share that with your contractor, with someone you trust, will help you funnel them into a margin that is acceptable. You know, because a lot of people that are contractors, they're not the best estimators. They're not sure what it costs. They are pulling something out of their hat depending on how long they've been doing or how busy they are or whatever it may be. If you've got a budget in mind, it really helps control the cost.
And that's where we were talking a little bit earlier, where, okay, $30,000 is what I can spend on this house.
Plus, if they know.
You know, here's the scope of work. Can you do this for 30? And once or twice they come back and go, are you kidding me? There's no way. Okay, maybe I made a mistake when I first looked at this house and, you know, came up with the amount that it would cost. Where are we at? We're like at 38. Okay, that means that's my mistake. And if they're really adamant that 38's the number and that's the best they can do, okay, then I have to eat that, because that's just my mistake, my estimate mistake.
When one of the things that does is that makes them think about it and make them think about your number too. So
now, when you first start this, you're not going to know a lot what costs are. I mean, I can walk through a 1,500 square foot house and I go, all right.
If you're using the same kitchens and the same.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you're consistent with the type of, you know, kitchens and baths you're using, and if I'm off, to, you know, $2,000, $3,000, it's not a big deal, right? But, you know, I know, okay, flooring's going to cost me this, you know, paint going to cost me this, and I just walk through, make a scope of work, go back, and then I, you know, get the pencil out and sharpen it and figure up the cost, and then I might add $3,000 or $4,000 miscellaneous, because I always seem to be a tad on the low side. It's human nature. Any other questions on that? You see, we're still on all these pages. This is still the scope of work.
you can't read any of them, but we have a lot of them.
That's good. We can't read it.
We made them blurry for a reason, so you couldn't read them. Whoops. The insurance indemnification agreement. Whoops. Boom. That's just the scope of work continued. This is the hold harmless agreement, and this just says that if the contractor falls down or any of his men get hurt on the job or anybody he brought on the job, as far as he may have hired another independent contractor, that they're not going to sue me.
As a contractor, make sure you cross that out. Put your initials next to it, make sure that the person that's hiring you put their initials next to it too.
Then you don't hire that contractor.
Because basically what's that doing is that's putting the person you hire in between you and the subs.
Like, if they get hurt or their employee gets hurt on the job, why should they sue you, right? You didn't trip them. You know, you didn't push them down the steps. Sometimes you'll feel like pushing them down the steps. And that's when you tell them, What kind of car do you drive? White Volkswagen. The W-9 form. You're going to need that for tax purposes.
You don't want to pay anybody else's taxes, do you?
They'll either give you a Social Security number or the EIN. EIN stands for Employee Identification Number.
And this will be a good question for Kevin next week. But do these need to be filled out every year for every contractor?
I do.
Okay.
Every year.
All right.
Yep.
Addresses change.
Right. But it doesn't have to be filled out for every project for the same contractor, right? If you
Yeah,
have
when it says project, I put in various projects
Okay.
throughout 2019. If you ever have to go to court, and this is important, remember when I said earlier about always looking at it from the other point of view? Look at it from the judge's point of view. The judge is sitting there, two parties come in, one guy, the contractor, comes in with a shoebox full of, dislodged papers, and he can't find anything, and and you're sitting there, bam, all the documents detailed, boom, 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 boom. Who looks professional? Who is more likely will that judge believe? This guy's got his shit together, right? He's got all the documents, he's detailed, he's on top of his game. This guy's disheveled and he doesn't know if he's coming or gone.
Same way you want to go into your evictions, by the way.
File
File folder full of stuff, set it down.
And most tenants come in all disheveled. They can't find their lease. They, this and that. And if you have somebody that's working for you full time, and they've been working for you for 3 years, and you're calling them an independent contractor, if the IRS does catch up with you, they're going to shoot you down on that because they're working for you full time, probably using a lot of your tools. You tell them where to go, what to do. They're going to pierce that independent contractor status real quick.
So, can I say something? That is the biggest fear that you should have. It's exactly what you just said there. It's not the liability or whether you pay someone or don't pay them or they do the wrong job. It's if you're hiring people for the IRS to say misclassification. Because if you misclassify a worker and you say that he's a sub and the IRS finds them employed, first it won't be the IRS, it'll be the unemployment audit that you'll get. Okay? And then that audit is minimal compared to the fine that you get that because they share information now, because everything's online. A few years ago, they had to call up and say, hey, check this guy out, and everything's online for them. You'll get a $2,500 per offense fine just for that. And then if they think that there's too many of the offenses, then they'll come in and then they'll audit you for all the FICA taxes. You have to pay that side. So that's why it's important. It's very less important for the identifying the scope. That's like $1,500, $2,000 issue. It's to make sure that they are a legitimate subcontractor.
If they're incorporated as an LLC, then that's a good indication that they're doing business for other people.
If they have an entity and they have their own insurance, that is good. Matter of fact, I know some people that will do that. They'll spend the money to incorporate somebody and buy the insurance for them.
I do that all the time. I buy people's insurance all day long because I want them to be a sub instead of an employee. It really is the top thing is, do they do work for other people? Do they advertise? Do they offer you a business card? I've had audits. I've had the unemployment audit, and I've had to show, I've printed pictures of their Facebook page that says, hey, we do carpentry work, and that's good enough. It has to, there's about 7 different items that they work for. Do you get an invoice from them? Do they use your tools? That's huge. The biggest thing above anything else, even insurance, is can they realize loss? So if you realizing loss is a subcontractor agreement. They're bidding $1,500 for a project, okay, where they could possibly lose money on that job. If they're working for you for a year and it's $25 an hour, day in, day out, They're your employee, okay? But because they can't lose.
That gets you to where you were before, where you don't want to pay hourly, because that's all the indications of an employee, as opposed to a subcontractor.
Any questions on that? We just kind of hit you with a lot there, but.
That'll get killed more than anything else. Is if you get audited. You know, little, it's risk versus reward. You can do it once in a while and get away with it. You can get away with it for 10 years. But if it comes back to you and they'll check a 6-month time. If they don't like that 6-month time, they'll go this way and they'll go that way. And then all of a sudden you're bringing your shoe boxes in for 10 years and they are just destroying you. 6 years of 5 or 6 subcontractors every year, that's a huge fine. And if they don't think that you can afford an attorney, they're going to skewer you more.
Most of the time, that's not an issue because they actually, you know, for our group, unless you're huge, most of them are going to be independent contractors.
I just want to throw this out there. My rates are very reasonable.
And you're a tax attorney, right? You're a tax attorney, right? Yeah, so he's a tax attorney, so he would know. Any questions? And before you give them the check on the final draw, you're going to want the waiver of lien signed. That means they can't put a lien against your property. We did miss one. Oh, there it is. 3 always comes after 6, right? See, that's page 6, and there's page 3. Okay. The payment schedule. The contractor is going to want to know how they're getting paid. So I typically do 4 draws, unless it's a small project. But if it's a larger project, 4 draws. And I always make that last draw just a little bit bigger than all the other draws. And that's like the carrot at the end of the stick. You want to leave the big prize at the end so that they can keep looking at that carrot, keep working towards that, get the job done, they can get paid, and they can go to the next job. Now, a lot of contractors are going to want money up front. I never, ever, ever pay anybody up front. Why would I do that? Do you get paid up front? No. Do you get paid up front? None of you guys get paid up front. You go to work for a week and then you get paid, right? So remember, white Volkswagen. Don't pay the contractors up front. A lot of the times you're going to pay for the materials anyway. So if you're paying for the materials, why do they need paid up front? What I ask them is, if you've got to buy a little bit of materials, you're going to go in, you're going to use your credit card. Lowe's is going to send you a bill in 30 days. By then, you've already gotten probably a couple draws. You can just pay it. And some contractors, they'll puff their chest out and, I don't use credit, I pay for everything cash. And immediately I say, you got bad credit, huh? That'll shut them up. And all of a sudden you see their chest deflate. Everybody uses credit. There's only one reason why somebody doesn't use credit, and that's because they can't get it. What's that tell you about the person? Now, disclaimer, bad things can happen to good people. Maybe you went through a divorce and she trashed her credit. I've never talked to anybody with trashed credit who went through a divorce that blamed it on themselves. It was always the other person, right? Talked to her, it was him. You talked to him, it was her. It's just the way or I had a partner and he forced me into bankruptcy. Okay. Red flags, folks. Now, I'm not saying you can't use these people. I'm just saying that's a red flag. If there's a couple other red flags, then that's a reason not to use them. So what I say is, look, I'm going to pay for the materials, except these are the things I don't pay for. I don't pay for anything I can't account for. I don't pay for caulk. I don't pay for drywall mud. I don't pay for screws, fasteners. I don't pay for any of that stuff I can't account for, because they need 10 screws to finish the job. They'll go buy a 5-pound box, and guess what's not at the end of the job left? No, they take it with them. You know, an old scam is you're redoing your basement. They order 86 2x4s to do your family room basement. Only takes 70. Those extra 2x4s go to the next job, right? I don't pay for trim. I don't pay for any wood like that. What I do pay for is doors. I can count doors, right? I can count doorknobs. I can count vanities. I can count faucets. You know, I can count appliances. I can count the stuff that I can count, I pay for. And usually that's the bigger ticket items anyway. I can pay for the flooring, but a lot of that little stuff, it adds up. And like I say, I don't pay for lumber. That the contractor has to figure in their bid.
I 100% agree with you. Never, ever pay anything up front with the exception of occasionally some materials. Completely agree. I've found that I deal with this conversation differently these days, and it goes a whole lot smoother. So let's say Harry's a contractor. Harry, listen, I don't pay contractors up front. That might be something you're not used to. What I'd be willing to do to you is give you a letter from my friend Michael Kay, a contractor I've used in the past, and he'll tell you the second your foot hits the ground, you'll be paid. I also have a lender over here that I'm actually going to use to, get the $20,000 to pay this, and he'll give you a letter stating that this is going to be paid. I've got a bank statement here. The money's coming from cash, at the bank, and I've whited out my, bank account numbers and stuff like that. I've shown people my bank statements with flagged out information so they can do it. Make it easy for them to say yes to you, not being paid up front, and you will find more contractors being willing to say yes.
And that's really good if you're newer, because you don't really have that track record. But if you've gotten a couple jobs done, you paid people, maybe you can get something in writing from them. With me, I go, look, I've been in business this many years, I'm credible, you can check me out, whatever. Here's some of the other, I'll just give them a reference. Here's some of the other contractors, feel free to call them. And that's about all I do. I typically pay them after they've been there a week. Once they get all the demo done, and maybe one or two other items, might be something outside or clean up the yard or whatever, then I give them the first draw. But it's usually at the end of that week. You want to see them do something. Yeah, I want to see them there. I want to see them doing something. Not when their feet hit the ground. I want to see 4 or 5 days of work.
I'm at that that my saying of when your foot hits the ground off the ladder, assume you use a ladder. For that final draw, I'm there waiting to give them.
Anybody have any questions on that?
One real quick. So with the materials, do you have the contractor provide the list of materials? Do you come up with it, or do you?
Usually that'll be in the scope of work. So you'll say, hey, we're doing such and such, contractor to provide, and then you put, like Carrie said, caulk, screws, things like that to be supplied by the contractor.
Lowe's had this guy, he would always do it for me. And once you have the first one, again, it's rinse and repeat. I'd say, hey, over there at Orange Street, West York, everything's going to be the same as that one, right? He would just pull that out, and then they'd pull everything together on the carts. Contractor would pick it up, or it'd be delivered. Usually we just, have it delivered. But sometimes the contractor would pick it up if it's not a huge load. And because, the first couple of flips we did, we're in Lowe's, my wife and I, for 3-4 hours, writing SKU numbers down for toilet paper rolls and towel holders and lights. And then she's arguing with me, I don't like that light. I'm like, we're not putting it in our house. This is a flip. It's not our house. Oh, yeah, it was painful. And if they're a contractor who's doing flips, they're going to know what you're looking for. They've done it for other people. They've done it for you. I have one guy I don't have to do anything. He just goes and does it all himself. Now, I got a little sloppy on this last flip, and I didn't go over everything in detail. And let me tell you, as soon as you get sloppy, it comes back to bite you in the ass. He's like, well, I'm not picking up the materials. I'm like, well, have them delivered. Well, they said it can't be delivered in 2 weeks, and I want it. Well, then you better go pick them up. What do you want me to do? I'm the customer. I'm not the contractor. So he spent all day on a Sunday going around and writing every little plumbing fixture that he needed. I'm going, why wouldn't you just throw it in the basket and buy it? And then give me the receipt and I'll reimburse you. Now you've got, okay.
But you're already there.
Yeah, so you're going to have to spell that out in your scope of work and be detailed. Again, that avoids the problems like I just mentioned.
What's the perfect contact to the sob story?
To the what?
Last line here.
Oh yeah, this is about being paid.
Oh, yes. I'm glad. I forgot all about that. This is going to happen. 100% guaranteed. I don't care who you are or what contract. Sooner or later, a contractor is going to come to you asking you for money before he's completed the draw, the scope of work on the draw. They're going to come back. They're going to ask you for money. Hey, look, just can you give me some money? And I've developed this through years of experience and training. I've developed this pitch to use to stop them dead in their tracks. So when they ask you for that to pay, give you money before their scope of work is completed, here's what I tell them. And if you got pens, write this down. Write this down. No. No. Get the freaking job finished. And then they run out there and finish the job, and I pay them.
Because everybody's got problems, right? They need money. You need your job done.
That's right. That's right. And when you meet the contractor, try to do it, when you're getting the paper signed. If you're doing it in your home, try to have a separate office. Try to do it professional. Don't get rid of the dogs and the kids and all that, So, I have a separate office, so which makes it really nice. They can come there and sit down, and we can do all that. Anybody have any questions? Man, I must have been. And I've already started to go over this. Control the process. Remember, use your documents. You're in charge. You're the owner.
When that helps, what Harry was talking about a professional environment, that helps eliminate some of those issues where someone's going to want money up front. If they came to your office, like it looks good, it looks professional, they're not going to worry if you have money to pay them.
It does. It adds some credibility. Sign
all
the docs in a controlled environment. Set the oh, this is really good. You need to let the contractor know how you want to communicate with them. Is it going to be every day, every other day, every third day? Or when are we going to have meetings? How many times am I going to meet you at the job site? Typically, you should be at the job site twice a week. Now, sometimes I can't get there because I'm busy. I got a lot of irons in the fire, right? So what I tell the contractor is he goes, hey, I'm ready for my other draw. I got everything done. It's Friday. I need to get my guys paid, and my wife wants to go to Hollywood Casino for the weekend, and I need money. Well, there's no way I can get there. Here, I want you to take detailed video of everything that's on that third draw. Pretty easy, right? Everybody's got a cell phone up their butt. So they can take video, send it to you. You can look at it and go, oh, yep, everything looks good. You got it all done. You don't have to actually go to the property that time, and you can pay them. And keep them happy. Because there's nothing worse when they get that draw done and you don't pay them. Assess your risk. That would be with the type of neighborhood you're in. You know, some places you might want to put up no trespassing signs, but you want to be properly insured. You want to make sure you got a contractor's policy, especially if you're putting a lot of money into it.
Yeah, keep in mind, that's an important point. If you just have a regular insurance policy on the property and you haven't told them the property's under construction, they're not going to pay out if you have a claim, if it's just an occupied policy.
If you just had a delivery from Lowe's and you've got, you know, a kitchen in there or appliances, and you come there the next day and the appliances are gone, insurance company's not going to pay it if you didn't tell them that you were doing a rehab. So you get a contractor's policy or a rehab policy, whatever they call it. So you always look at your risk, and your contractors shouldn't leave tools visible. If somebody looks in the window, there's a compound miter saw. The drills are laying there. That's just asking to be broke in, to be stolen.
Who's responsible then? If somebody breaks into your property and steals their equipment?
Well, that's what your insurance is for. I haven't ever had it happen yet. I'm a little surprised, but I had a $300 ladder stolen. That was it, because my guys forgot to put it inside the garage.
My contractor left his van there overnight one time because he was going back early in the morning and all the tools in his van and stuff. So.
He said the contractor left the van on the job site, and they broke into the van and stole all the tools. So it happens. Again, I'm surprised I haven't had it happen more. Just that ladder, really, and that was mine. A lot of the contractors, the valuable tools, they'll just throw them in their truck, take them with them that night. Especially if you're in, again, assess your risk. If you're in a rougher area where the crime's a little higher, you better take all your tools home at night.
I've heard of some people working in Baltimore where they'll literally lock the door to go back into they won't even leave the door unlocked.
They're unloading their truck or van to go into the house. They'll lock it, come back out 30 seconds later, unlock it, grab something, lock it. It's that bad.
Probably not a prime place. Oh, we're getting
okay.
Waved.
And insurance companies are always looking for reasons not to pay, so make sure they know that it's vacant and get the right insurance. Builder's risk policy, we already went over that. If you've got any open trenches, anything like that, put the orange fence around, because that is a liability risk. Protect your lenders, banks require it. Private lenders are easy to forget about. So if you have a private lender or a hard money lender, they should be listed on the policy as a loss payee. So that way they're covered also. Secure your property, educate your team. This drives me crazy. When I go to the property at 6 at night and there's a window open or a door unlocked, oh my God damn it. It just drives me crazy. And I tell the contractor, you're in charge. If you weren't there, who's your lead guy? There has to be somebody always in charge on that job that makes sure that house is secured. I want my house secured. Look, not that a house is that hard to break into. You kick the door and it'll bust it open. But the point is, make sure it's secure.
You put this in your contract?
Well, no, I don't. But that's just a given. They need to secure the property. But I do talk to them about it all the time, and I give them hell all the time. And it does happen more often than I would like it to. And I hate when people are working in dirt. I try to say, clean up the project each day. They're working in their dirt every day. You make a mess, clean it up.
And that's a hazard. I mean, that can cause injuries and stuff.
And it's just, yeah.
An LLC, that's important.
I'm just going to hit a few of these. Do not put appliances in till the very end of the project. There's nothing worse than having a stainless steel refrigerator put in and the contractor comes by with his tool belt and the hammer goes, yeah. Ask me how I know. It happens. It happens. So I'm adamant, and I'm on top of them. I go, I know it's tempting because then the kitchen's done, it looks really nice, but you don't do that to the end. We already went over that. Use a checklist. We're going to blow through this real quick because we're running out of time. But you want to have a weekly meeting if you have a staff with your staff, but you definitely want to have at least one weekly meeting with your contractor. That's really important. So once you demo, you're going to have the plumbers, electricians come in, and the HVAC guys come in. After that, you're going to insulate it. After that, you're going to do the drywall or plaster. After that, then the carpenters come in and can trim it out, put doors in, finish it. The hardwood floors, baths, recessed lights, the electrician will be back, and the plumber will be back to do the appliances and sinks and all that kind of stuff. And then you're going to clean it and stage it. Do y'all feel comfortable about doing a rehab now? You feel better about it? Because you understand what's involved and you know how to protect yourself, right? Okay. I got one person, great. I'm asking,
Very useful information.
all right, thank you.
Buy and hold.
Boom!
Buy and hold is if you're renting. So if you buy it, you're keeping the property. You're not selling it to another person. So.
We have a great 1-800 number. It's 1-800-WILL-PAY. So if you ever can't reach me, 1-800-WILL-PAY. That's our phone number. There you go.
So keep an eye out. Next month, fourth Tuesday of the month, Harry's CPA is going to be here.
Kevin Eisenhart. From Kevin Eisenhart. They just started. They just opened their own firm up.
Yeah, he was at RKL. So he'll be here. So if you guys are looking for an accountant, he's looking for clients.
Dave and I want to thank everybody for showing up to better their real estate education and their careers in real estate. And we're going to be doing some serious networking at the Networking Lounge, which is located right over here. So we hope to see everybody, hang out, ask us questions. We'll get to know you. We would love that. David, anything else?
Nope, that's it. Just keep an eye out for your emails and check on the Meetup page. But it'll be Kevin Eisenhart talking about accounting for real estate, fourth Tuesday of October.
And this guy's super sharp, super sharp.
Email you to get the forms, or
Yeah, just email us.
Yeah, email either Harry or I.
If you want to write this down, if you want the forms, again, for members, it's Naill, and that's N as in Nancy, AILL, 2 L's, hnaill@comcast.net. And in a month from now, if you join, you just let me know and we'll send them out to you.
Good?
So that's
right.
good. That's good for whenever. Thank you.
Tune in next time to the Central Pennsylvania Real Estate Investors Meetup podcast, keeping you up to date with what is happening in the York, Lancaster, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania real estate markets.